Well, hello again, and I'm adding on this little bit of video onto the engine start video I did a few days ago when I ran it the first time since I'd winterized it. You can see that video of it's all a bit amateurish, but it's me running some antifreeze through this little Vetus narrowboat engine. And a couple of days ago, it was last week actually, I started the engine for the first time since that 19th of January. Like I've said before, this is a boat that is only holiday use, you know, and you come to the marina, you sit on it, you go out occasional days, and so the engine doesn't get a lot of use, and particularly in the winter it's laid up, you know, winterized. Anyway, an interesting thing happened. The Vetus panel up there, which you can see, it's a basic panel. I have got a better panel to fit, which will be on another video. And anyway, the engine started as it always does, you know, first turnover, just give it a little bit of preheat, and it started fine. My problem was when I came to stop it on this engine, it's got the electric stop solenoid. I turned the key to the off position. Whoa, the engine failed to stop. Now obviously if that happens to you, if you've got if your diesel engine, there's many out there I know, Nanny, Vetus, I think most of the small diesel engines with the electric stop solenoid operate on a you know, roughly the same principle, that there is an engine stop solenoid. And I don't know for one moment whether you'll see, well anyway, but if that happens to you and the engine won't stop, on the Vetus range, if you look to the side of the engine where down, I don't think you'll see, down in there, and if I get my hand and put there, if you can, the way you'll see my finger, I don't know how well you'll see that, but there is a little, that is the stop solenoid there, and if your engine won't ever stop, there is on the end of it, there is a plastic button that you can press in manually, obviously for safety reasons, so you can stop the engine. Now mine, I couldn't press it in. Even more problematical, I couldn't press that button in. So in the end, I've got two very good ball shut-off valves over there. I had to resort obviously to turning the engine fuel off and basically letting the engine run out of you know, fuel, which then obviously shut it down. Obviously a diesel will keep running. You can't just turn the battery off on these smaller diesels. That won't do any good at all, and it probably doesn't do the alternator a lot of good anyway if you do that. So I looked online, and I knew you know, these are problematical. Vetus wanted £102 for a new stop solenoid, which looked a relatively easy job to fit. You just have to take this air cleaner off and you can get it, and there's two wires coming into it. But I thought, well, hang about, the solenoid must be stuck if the engine runs when the solenoid, when the button is in, and you know, I can't get it to free or go in anymore or whatever. It must be stuck. So I've come today, and obviously they're limited access, but there again, you wouldn't want to, you know, hit it woefully hard by any means, but I have given the solenoid a few gentle taps with the adjustable spanner. And then lo and behold, pushing the button, the plastic end button, I have seemed to have freed the solenoid up. And so now, shall we go for it? watch out, there's a noise alert. I'm now going to start the engine up again. So there we go, we're running just in tick over, and if we go up to the... and there we go, works a treat again. So there you go. It always just, you know, try these things before you condemn a part. Did you hear that? That click, I don't know whether you caught that click, but that click I believe is the solenoid. It's on like a spring and a push rod, and I believe that is it coming out into the off position. So I think what has happened basically, obviously, this boat obviously gets damp in the winter, you know. It's an open, there's no cover really apart from the boards, and I have a rubber mat down over, but you can see there's gaps and the rain occasionally drips in. The engine, as I say, it's had some water running on it, not recently. I try and keep that. So obviously it gets damp in there, it hasn't been used, it's not been turned over. So I think basically what had happened, the spring and the pin had got basically just stuck. So obviously freeing it up, it's working okay again. It's something I'll keep an eye on now and make sure I keep it, you know, freed up and that the engine stops. It's a bit unnerving. So if that happens to you, you know, you go to your obviously switch panel, turn the key into the off position, and the engine doesn't, you know, switch off. Come down, and as I say, somewhere on your engine, on this one, as I say, it's to the side here, under just near the engine fuel filter. You'll feel a little rubber covered button. You have to put your fingers in, and the theory is you can push that in, and that will be a manual shut off. So there's a little bit of a tech tip for you there. If you've got these small Vetus engines, it does seem they are problematical on this electrical fuel solenoid shut off. And you know, I read quite a few things. I googled it, obviously, as everybody does nowadays. It's the first thing you do, isn't it? And it did seem as though other people had come across this problem, and some had to have new, some had got broken wires. Obviously I will check the connections to all this, but it seems to be getting power because it's working via the switch panel now, which must be energizing it. So it could be an intermittent fault on the electrical side, which is something, obviously the rewire is still going on. As you can see, I've put a new up here, we've got a new 35 mil engine start cable to the battery switch to the battery, because the other one was woefully thin. So obviously I'm still doing jobs, and obviously I can check all that out. But yeah, there we go. So the engine starts and runs fine now, and thankfully switches off as well. So I hope some of you might find that useful. You know, I like this little Vetus. It looks a bit, I'm going to clean it all up and retouch the paint upon it this summer, because it's a super little engine. It's never let me down. It runs, you know, it runs constantly. You know, it starts virtually every time, even after, say, laying it up. The only problem this time was I couldn't stop it. But so yeah, thanks for watching. Do subscribe, do like, do comment. If you have a Vetus engine on a narrowboat, you know, I'd like to hear your views on them. If you think they're bad, indifferent. I know a lot of people find the Vetus parts very expensive, but yeah. Anyway, I'll call it quits for this one and say bye bye for this time, and see you back soon, shortly, with another video. Bye for now.